understood that we are going through a process, and I've been trying to sort of inform my readership through a series of articles I've been writing this year that we are in a process of transformation. And I think right now we're in this process of revealing. And in other words, what's being revealed to us is how corrupt our world is and how delusional what we believed in is just not true. Many of the institutions, many of the way the world has been set up is totally false. It's totally built on lies and deceit, and none of it is real. None of it is...
And everything we've been taught is wrong.
Absolutely. I estimate that maybe 95% of what we believe in is true. We think is true is simply not. In other words, we are living mostly a false illusion of how life really exists. So therefore, it's time to unlearn what we have learned, and time to realize that we are much greater than we have ever realized, first of all. And the other thing to understand is that life is actually now transforming itself for the better. We are getting much greater than we've ever been before. So we are moving now into a world that's going to reveal itself as being true. So what we've also seen in this past year is that consciousness has risen dramatically throughout the planet. The Monash University in India has been sort of tracking this and documenting this. And, I mean, we stand at over 250,000 awakened people on the planet, which is a remarkable statistic in and of itself. But this is going to start doubling probably every month now. We're going to see this just go through the roof. And basically these people that are becoming awakened are reaching higher states of consciousness, which is having an effect upon the whole planet. But there are other great factors that are happening that occurred in 2012, and that is we've gone through all these ancient prophecies that were predicted. We basically have fulfilled all those. We went through this procession of the equinox. We went through the center of the galactic center, and we came back to where we started from. We fulfilled a lot of the conditions of moving into a higher dimension or a new world. And what I tried to point out in my most recent commentary is that the world shifted from being slightly more negative to now slightly more positive, which is signaling the return of the divine feminine, where love is going to rule over the planet. So there's so many things now that are dovetailing, that are converging now to tell us that we are moving into this golden age for humanity, where things are going to start to become so much more amplified and so much greater and so much more positive and so much more amazing than we ever could possibly have dreamed of. So I think 2012 has been a great year for revealing a lot of information. Even this whole idea around this December 21st proved itself to be nothing.
That was a big letdown to so many people, because so many people truly believed that when they awoke on the morning of the 22nd, that we would have all been shifted to another dimension, to the fifth dimension, and everything would have been totally changed. I myself believed that there was going to be a tremendous change. When I woke on the morning of the 22nd, I really had to do a double take, and then I realized, like you're saying, that something did happen, but it didn't happen the way it was told by so many of the people out there that was telling us this, that we believed in and we trusted. So people started to get depressed, and they felt like they were duped, they felt like they were let down again, and
I didn't believe any of that. I didn't believe that we were going to go through a big shift, because I understood that there was a divine plan unfolding, and it's a gradual process. We are going through a step-by-step process. As I said, 2012 was the year of revealing. And we have to realize that maybe many of us who have been following this kind of information and researching and studying this, been identifying with this, or we maybe just come to it in recently. But there are a vast amount of people that are totally unprepared for any of this that's going on the earth, and we have to understand that they need to be a part of this. So there has to be a gradual, step-by-step process that we go through that will bring all of humanity up to speed and be ready for this. And
how do we prepare them for this? What can you tell them how to prepare for this? Or what can you share with the listeners that already are aware of what you're sharing with us now, that they can go out there and help those that don't know about this to prepare for this?
Okay. Well, the best thing that people can do, the absolute best thing, is to raise your own consciousness, because by you raising your consciousness, you are affecting those around you. These people that are becoming awakened, for every one person that becomes awakened, they affect 100,000 others around them. So this is how the planet's going to transform itself. It's going to be like through osmosis, or through a sharing, through as more and more people come to this higher state of consciousness, it's going to permeate throughout the planet, and it's going to snowball. It's going to gain momentum. It's going to gain a huge positive wave that will envelop all of the human race. But we have to be patient. We have to understand that there's 7 billion people on the planet, and they all need to be affected in one way or the other, and the divine plan is calling for this, obviously. So we have to understand that there is a process we're going through. The other thing that people can do is just start to talk to others, and don't try and push your ideas on another, but if they're open to it, then start to share it with them and send them to my website or other places where this kind of information is being discussed. I mean, I've seen my subscription list just go through the roof over the last year, because now people are looking for alternative information. And I can appreciate that people are just becoming very disillusioned, thinking that nothing is really happening. But we have to really look at the big picture and understand that there is a tremendous amount of evolution and change that we're going through now. The kind of stuff we used to go through used to take decades, and we're going through it within weeks now. Sometimes
right, exactly. Everything is speeding up.
Absolutely.
How would you explain to someone, Scott, that is hearing you now and hearing you talk about you raising your consciousness, and let's say that this is someone listening now that has never heard about anything like this before and has no idea what it means to raise your consciousness. How could you explain it in just a short, simple way that they would understand what that really means? Because I know when I started on this journey about maybe 20 years ago, or whenever it was, so long ago I can't remember, when I was told the same thing about raising my consciousness, I had no idea what that meant, and no one explained it to me. What would you tell someone like that?
Well, first of all, it's important to understand there's a million ways to get to heaven. But I'm going to sum this up in one word, and that is awareness. It's important now to raise your awareness, expand your awareness, and be aware of the subtle things in life. And also, the other important thing is to establish a relationship with the divine aspect that exists within every one of us. And there is this small part of us that we've ignored, this little inner voice, this little part of us. Drunvalo Melchizedek refers to this as the sacred space of the heart. Others refer it to your inner divine. Others call it the higher self. Others call it the oversoul. There's all kinds of different terminologies for this stuff. And it doesn't really matter, because it's whatever you identify with, whatever resonates with you. But it's important that we understand that we are not humans. We are spiritual beings. And we have divine qualities. We were made in the image of God. So we are an aspect of God. We have the same powers as God within us. It's a matter of trusting it. It's a matter of believing it. It's a matter of acknowledging it. And it's a matter of incorporating it into our lives. So it's really important now that we establish this intimate relationship with this divine aspect, which has all the answers we seek. All the answers lie within us, and we've been trained and conditioned to believe that everything lies outside of us, including what time of day it is.
Right.
But it's important that we trust our intuition, we trust that inner voice within us, we start paying attention to the little subtleties of life. That's where the magic lies, and whatever it is that you identify with. I can tell you my personal journey was really helped with the ancient practice known as Ho'oponopono, where you send love to everything, and you have this little mantra that runs through your brain. It's, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I have written extensively about Ho'oponopono on my website, and anyone that's interested can check that out. But that's one way that worked for me. It might be any multitude of ways, but it's important to just find whatever resonates strongly within your heart. And the other important aspect is, as I just mentioned, is we're moving from the mind to the heart. So it's really important now to be in touch with your heart. Listen to your heart. What does your heart tell you? Don't do things that you're uncomfortable with. If something doesn't resonate with you, then move on to something else. And stay away from negativity. And it's really important now to stay positive and focused on the eye. Keep our eye on the prize, and that's this golden age that's unfolding right now. And so I recommend whatever people are drawn to, anything that's uplifting, inspirational, that will help to raise your consciousness. There are a number of things that I put on my website that can help in this regard. And there are many other that I haven't touched on. It's just a matter of going out and looking and finding things that you feel strongly about. But the raising of consciousness is actually happening naturally now. It's a phenomenon that's occurring without you even trying, because this is a mandate from the divine to raise the consciousness of the entire planet. And so this is why life in 2012 was a little chaotic. There was a lot of upheavals, because these galactic waves coming from these waves from the galactic center are hitting the Earth and upgrading everyone. And we've been going through this every month now, and it's going to excel more as we go through these times. So it's an incredible time. It's really important to understand that what we're going through, it's a very natural process. It's a very divinely inspired. So ultimately, there's really nothing you really need to worry about, that you need to necessarily do, but just surrender to this process. Surrender to this divine unfolding that is happening on the planet right now.
And this process is actually leading us to this new Earth. Is that it?
Well, there is
a new way on Earth.
Yes, there's different terminology for what we're going through. Some call it, the golden age. Some call it ascension. Some call it the fifth dimension. Some call it the new Earth. All of them are basically talking about the same thing, and that is that by raising your frequencies, you are going to be shifting from this three-dimensional, chaotic, apocalyptic world that we live in to one of peace, love, abundance, a utopian world that is emerging now. And so it's going to be up to you how and when that you arrive at this, and it's just by you resonating to these higher frequencies, these higher states of consciousness, and that's just by expanding yourself with, as I just outlined. There are any number of ways to do that.
Does there have to be a certain amount, Scott, of people, like say that there have to be like 10 million, 5 billion, or just a certain amount for this to all just make a quick turnaround, a quick flip, for this to all come in? Or is this just going to be happening in a gradual process, like you've been talking about here now, in a gradual process, and it's going to take us, say, another 5 years, 10 years, 20 years before all this war stops, all of this conquer and divide, destruction, prejudice, hate, all this stuff that we've been living in up until now is going to be gone? Or